everybody. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 17 of The Hard Truth Inside the Football Industry. It's with me, Philip Heitzen, and with Darragh McAnthony, Chairman and Co-owner and El Presidente of English Championship side Peterborough United. Darragh, you had another tough week this week. You were at Forest.
Yeah, it's a good word. Another. To be fair, probably one of the most enjoyable 55 minutes. You know, I mean, do you know the worst part is you say it like really good against Stoke, didn't win. Really good against Middlesbrough, didn't win. And on Saturday, the manager went back to diamonds, and I understood why, because we've got the personnel to play it. You know, we didn't have it last season, but in midfield, you need good players. You know, in midfield to play that, you have to be brave in the ball, you have to be able to pass it, keep it, technically good. Not sure we got the strikers at the moment for it, but you need real pace. You know what I mean, in behind when you play with a diamond four. But probably from the 8th minute to just inside the second half, we were superb. We controlled and dominated the game. You know, Forest didn't have a kick, and you're looking at it, and then we had a chance. You know, first half, George Grant goes through and goal, and you just want him to put his fucking laces through it, and he tries to lob a 6'5" fucking goalkeeper from 8 yards. So decisions like that just exasperates everything. Then in the second half, early on, for once, without the diamond passing, the goalie's gone long. Jono's knocked it on. Then Belle's kind of one-on-one, lobs the keeper, and it hits the fucking post. You know, and the last 5-6 games, we've missed some fucking absolute sitters. I mean, sitters, not even difficult chances. If you go back to the Fulham game, you know, and it's the same players really have missed a lot of the chances. When you look at it, we've had chances to score. We're not. People say we haven't scored for 5 games, and it's 1-7, and it's really. But boy, oh boy, we have created some fucking real good chances. Now, the disappointing thing would be the diamond worked really well to a point where we then let ourselves down. When you play with a diamond, your fullbacks have to have real good quality in the final third. Right. You know, because you're getting them into spots where they're going to put balls in the box. Yeah. And 2 things throughout the game: our fullbacks final ball were fucking awful, both sides. It would hit a Forest defender. It wouldn't find a Peterborough person. And second to that, not enough Peterborough players in the box. So 2 good chances in the whole game, and you're not winning football games creating 2 good chances the whole game. So there's so much that's letting us down at the moment, that quality. And then the thing that's killing us the most, I would love to go 90 minutes without us being fucking stupid, and I would like all 11 players to have 90 minutes where they just don't make stupid mistakes. And, you know, at the back, we're looking really comfortable. Josh Knight's forging a nice relationship with Ronnie Edwards, and you're thinking they look strong, they look good, clean sheet last game. You're an hour into the game, clean sheet again. They're not very troubled. And then Josh makes a big run, fair play, he gets on the edge of the box. You're playing in a game with a referee, and this is where our players have to stop being dumb. This referee is not giving anything for them, and he's not giving anything for us. So I've got no problems with a ref who doesn't do it either way. He's not giving shit. And Josh has either got to shoot or pass to the fullback to the right. And of course, he's trying to buy a penalty. And again, judge the referee. Even if the guy cut your leg off, he's not giving the penalty. Yep. And they break and they score. He's out of position. They pretty much score him where he would have been. And you're 1-0 down, and you can just see it in the players. It's deflation. You know, again, you played so well, you got to a point, you're 1-0 down. And then late in the game, now in the 85th minute, they have a corner. I think our fullback, our left back, doesn't win the ball at the front post to clear it, goes through him. Our central midfielder doesn't mark his man. You know, he's trying to scream for a foul. The ref's not going to give you a foul. Stop the fucking guy, get across you, and it hits the guy in the chest and goes in. I'd love to see us score one of them. We don't seem to, because we're not in those positions. And then it's game over, and you're gutted because you're like, well, actually, we were really good. Was that a 2-0 game for Forest? No. Was it? Fuck. But we stopped playing in the second half for whatever reason. We went long, you know, and that wasn't from the manager, because I know how happy he was, you know, how we were in the first half. That's on the players. They just stopped playing. And you have to be brave, and you have to keep playing. And if we played the first half, the second half the same, and gone ahead, we win the game. And that's where and we can all argue about personnel, players, and recruitment, and more players in January, and this, that, whatever else. But you need 11 players to go out and play a game where they just don't make a fucking mistake that leads to a goal. Sure, okay, you're going to, in a game, pass to somebody 5 yards away in midfield, or you're going to overhit a ball into touch. But every time we seem to make, and I call them stupid mistakes, like what I'm just saying there, trying to win a penalty against the ref who's never given one, those stupid mistakes are leading to goals. And until our players look at this and look at themselves and go, I don't give a fuck what level you're at. Sometimes you have to play a faultless game and dig a result out. And we need our players to play a faultless game. And at the moment, it's not happening for them. So, yeah, it's dark clouds because of the results. It's dark clouds because we're not scoring goals. All those things are there and they're there to be seen. So, what do? You get back on the horse and you keep going. And seeing the style and the way we played, we've got some good footballers in our team, but we need these players now to start scoring goals. We need these players to dig a result out. So because you can't go Peterborough United side, not one that I own, can't go 5 games without scoring a goal. That's fucking ridiculous. I don't give a fuck if you're losing 4-2, but to not score goals and not to not it's almost you're giving the away every time you play a team. You're giving them an advantage. They're looking at us going, oh, they don't score any goals.
Yeah.
Whereas in the past it would be, well, Peter was scoring goals, so we got to be careful.
They're going to hurt us. Yeah. So
they're going to hurt us.
A little bit more.
Yeah, they've got a threat. They're always nice to that. It's a psychological side. Right now, teams are looking at us going, fucking, they're shite from the goal. And they're shite at fucking stopping goals. So, our players have to stop that. Look, we need to win through, a couple of games this month. We need to give ourselves a chance. And, and then go on a massive run in the final 23 games. But we need to give ourselves a platform. So, that's down to the manager, the players, the staff, everybody. We've got to do better. And we've got to do better on things like Phil, crossing the ball. Mm-hmm. I mean, fucking hell, it's bread and butter. You know what I mean?
Nothing drives you crazy more than a fullback hitting
absolutely, and it happened over. It was just a lack of quality.
Yeah.
And I know some will listen to this, and probably some of my players listen to it and go, "You're being harsh." Well, no, not really. Your job when you're playing a diamond as a fullback is not just to defend; it's to have quality in the final third. Because how are we going to create chances if you don't have qualities? And we put them in some good positions on Saturday, and it was just every fucking time a Forest player found the ball. It was the quality of the ball across. It just wasn't good enough. So that's on. And if a player is listening to this, well, actually look in the mirror. If you're 4 or 5 times in the opposition's final third in a position to put a ball into Johnson, Clark, Harris, or whoever else, one of them's got to find the fucking slot. Because Forest player on the breakaway found a slot at the back post. You know what I mean? So he's done his job, and it's led to a goal. So, you have to do better. So that's hurting us. And like I said to you, players just like making stupid decisions, at key moments. Again, like, don't make those decisions. Stop. I guess it comes down to 3 words: do your job.
Mm-hmm.
Do your job. And that would describe us at the moment is we're not doing our job. Do your job. Individually, collectively, do your job.
What do you make about formation changes?
I have no problem with the formation. I had no problem with the formation change. I absolutely, was behind that on Saturday. We've been absolute pants away from home. We've pretty much lost every away game. Bar Hull, we've lost 10. We're getting battered in some games because you go 1-0 down and the white flag's out. So we're not creating chances. The idea with a diamond is you get control of the game, you create chances. Dembele and Jono, you want to create chances for them. Could we do with a bit more pace to run in behind? Of course, but we don't have that at the moment. So, okay, you work with what you've got. So we've created 2 great chances in the game, and George Grant and Dembele have to score. They don't. They actually don't make the goalkeeper really do any work, and that's even more frustrating. So I had no problem. I thought the formation change worked really well. I thought the back 4 again. If you look at it defensively, clean sheet the game before, bar a stupid corner, bar the breakaway because of what happened on the edge of they've defended well. Forest really haven't they haven't laid a glove on us. So again, it's frustrating. So you're thinking, geez, even if you walk out there with another 0-0, you're going, okay, that's 2 back-to-back clean sheets. Now you got a defensive platform, but no, we shoot ourselves in the fucking nuts again, and it's back to square one. So I don't care what formation the players get picked on. Do your job. If you're asked to play 4-2, play it well. If you're asked to play 4-2-3-1, play it well. If you're asked to play 3 at the back with wing back, play it well. Everyone needs to know the role. And if you're a wing back, your role is to get forward and get back and stop goals and create goals. If you're in a diamond, the whole idea is you're 4 in the middle, control the game, and they protect the fullbacks. And that's key. And you keep rotating and moving the football, and you try and get in behind. If you're a front 2 in a Peterborough team at the moment, break your ass and get in the fucking box. But when you're in the box, don't be stagnant. fucking move around and attack in the box.
Just wait
Because
for it.
no, because if you highlight a lot of our games at the moment, there's not enough of us in the box, and B, the ones who are in the box are like statues.
Hmm.
You could fucking mark them.
Yeah.
So have a bit about you. And again, sometimes it's as simple in football as you must outrun the opposition. If you look at the goal Forest scored for the first one, we're not breaking our ass to get back.
No, that's the most frustrating thing when you see some of those when you're on the encounter and you've got midfielders just
yeah,
kind of jogging back
yeah,
into position.
yeah. Even the people who make the mistake, and the people around them, get up and fucking run like a sprinter.
Yeah.
Break your ass to do it. A corner. If a team has a corner, what's your job? Don't you let the ball go past you if it's near you, and don't let your man run past you either. Just do your job. And again, too many players aren't doing their jobs. So that's it. That's what it comes. Sometimes football can be a simple game, and it comes down to outrun the opposition,
Yeah.
outwork the player next to you, beat the man in front of you, and do your job, and don't make mistakes. So it's the bare basics. So I don't give a fuck what formation we play on Saturday. We have to win the game.
And
We're playing a
back
good
at
Millwall
home.
side.
Right.
Yeah, we're back at home, and that's great. But and that's meant to be our saving grace. But we haven't been picking up the wins at home recently either. So we have to change that. We have to win on Saturday. And you win there, and you go, okay. Now we go into the week before Christmas, and we've got to go get an away result. So, we have to give our fans something, because our fans have been fantastic. They don't deserve this. So that's down to the players now, individually and collectively, to do that. So let's see what they do on Saturday. And if someone want to wave the white flag, okay, fine. You come and tell us. But I don't think any of them are waving the white flag. I just think they're frustrated. I think they're playing within themselves. I think there's, when times are tough and things go against you, you're not as brave as you want to be, and that's human nature. That's fine. I get that. We're all human beings. We're down on our luck. We feel like the world's kicking us in the bollocks. Normal stuff. But sometimes you have to be resolute. You have to dig in. You have to. I've said this before. Go to places you've never been. And overcome all of it. And it can be done. We're not talking about a 20-point deficit here. So this is nothing. 3-4 wins like Hull have done can change everything.
Yeah, and as Newcastle and Norwich have shown in the Premier League,
absolutely,
it doesn't seem like 2 or 3 weeks ago we were talking about how many points adrift they were, and all of a sudden it's 3
absolutely,
points.
Absolutely. Football's funny. You can be awful. You look like not scoring. You look like you can't buy a win, and then you win 2-3 games on the spin, and you feel like you're invincible. That's football. So our players have to really give us a platform and a springboard to go into January where we can get them some help. And again, we've got to change our own look off the pitch, because Poku's played in the under-23s. He's absolutely been phenomenal. He scored 2 goals the other day in a win over Everton. One of the goals was like Messi. He went around 6 players and dispatched it in the top corner, and he's showing why we bought him, what a quality player he's going to be. Then he breaks his fucking hand in the game, and he's got a cast on as long as my dick. And it's like, so we would address that today. Well, hang on, it's a broken fucking hand or a fractured hand. So let's wrap that fucker up. And I'm watching players in the NFL who blew their fingers off at Halloween playing 3 weeks later with a giant glove. So we need, and this isn't the boy who doesn't want to play. This is the medical staff and doctors and fucking, wrap that fucker up and get out there and play. We're not asking you to use your hands. So we need players like him now as a shining light looking towards January, going, it's time for some of these now to step up. Joe Randall gets COVID. He's been injured. He's missed time. He's finally come back. He's training again. And he gets fucking COVID. And it's like, and it's not on him. Do you know what I mean? He's got COVID. And it's just like, Jesus Christ almighty. Ricky, who've been missing since August, he's coming back. He's looking brilliant. The reports are great. His runs, everything, his fitness, and he does his hip. And he's out for 3. We need these players available. We need them back and available. We can't carry any more injury shite. We need these players now. If we're gonna make a good fist of this in the second half of the season, particularly those players, because of the pace and what they can bring against tired legs. We need them fighting fit. We need them fit for the full last second half of the season, because I promise you, they will play a part and they can make a difference.
What's the latest on Jack Marriott? When's he due back?
He's flying. He's flying. He's flying. He's ahead of schedule. He's flying. Some of them thought he wouldn't be back this season. There's a real. He wants to play in January. He's on the running machine. He's flying. So everything's gone really well because of the nature of the injury where it was. The real frustrating thing is him and Ricky J in a diamond, feeding him in behind. Fucking, it would work a treat. Because you'd have four midfielders with two strikers who could make runs all day long off the shoulder and get in behind. You would shit up opposition defenders. A fully fit Randall could play at the top of a diamond with a quality on both feet. You've seen that yourself. I know some of our fans are laughing and thinking, oh,
It's
a
the same
million
with
quid, whatever
Poku
else.
as well. Kwame Poku tore up week 2. I mean, he's a quality
Poku,
player.
right, he's 20, so he could play behind a fast striker. We have players who can hurt teams, but they're not fit and they're not available. So again, it's frustrating. So it was great watching the 23s win. And, and we have another young striker in the 23s. He's not available till January because of how late we brought him in. And he's quicker than Ricky. And again, that pace sometimes, second half of the season, tired legs, wet pitches, we want to play and we want to go past and in behind. You need pace. So as much as it's all doom and gloom, the promising thing is this: 23s beat Everton. I think we're top of our group in a group with Everton, Sheffield United, and Burnley in the under-23 Cup. Really, really high standard. They beat Everton 3-0 at Everton. Our under-18s went to Derby, a very highly rated Cat A Derby side, and absolutely deserved to win. We won 1-0. We have a front two on our under-18 team. They're the best pressers I've ever seen of a ball. Both of them are rapid, and all they do is press. And sometimes, like you watch the game and you go, "My God, I wish we could press like that in our first team." Because as good as Derby were technically, every time they attacked us, they shit themselves because our front two pressed them and got in behind them all day long. Our front two must have had like 2-3 one-on-ones each because they kept getting in behind. They kept running the channels. They kept pressing them high up the pitch. And even though Derby will say, well, we had the better chances, it should have been 3 or 4-0. Absolutely brilliant under-18 team. And they're not even our best age group. Our 15s and 16s are the best age group. So, because the 18s have come later on after the Cat 2 status was given us. So that's all really promising. And the players I'm talking about in the 23s, and I know a lot of our fans are they can't do it in the Championship and there's too much type in you. No, this is a big part. The Pokus, the Randalls, the Ricky J. Jones, the players in the 23s, they're going to be some players. And we need it now. We're not that far away. Just think even next summer how good these players are going to be for our team. So it's frustrating. I want them available. The manager wants them. He needs them available. So it is what it is. We are where we are. And now we have to, what is available has to go out and win and dig us out. And we've got a lot of good football players and they're just playing well below their standard.
Now, off the field, you wrote something on Twitter this week that I was interested about. Just getting some, trying to get feedback from fans around, I think it was a bond issuance, the potential of a bond issuance. Can you talk a little bit about kind of how a bond works and what the thinking is in terms of what you could do with that?
So think of it like this. A lot of people, how do you invest your money if you've got spare money? What do? You just leave it in the bank, get interest on it?
Yeah, bank, stocks.
Right, stocks. So I play the stock market and I play the bond market. So sometimes I'll buy bonds and they can be government bonds, they can be private company bonds. And a bond usually has a term limit on it. So for example, you can buy, I think, government bonds, which give you 1.7% on your money. Mm-hmm. So if you've got 100 grand in the bank or in these bonds, you make 1,700 quid a year.
Yeah.
And it could be 5 years. And after 5 years, you get your money back. And obviously you've had all the interest and whatever else. Yeah. It's the same. It's the same type of process, and I don't want to, make any mistakes here. So I'm not going to be perfectly correct. You read all the terms and conditions when we do it. You read all the bits and pieces,
advice, etc.
No, exactly. But it's a way of making people earn money. It's something they enjoy and feel affiliated to. And if you go back to Norwich a few years ago, Norwich raised about 5-6 million to redo their training ground and their academy. And when they got to the Premier League, they paid all the money back, but they gave all the people who put the money in, I believe they got a yearly return on the money. So we're not asking you for a loan of money. We're not asking you for any money as regards to you're not getting anything back. What you're going to get is you're going to get a percentage on your money each year, and then you're going to get your money back at the end of the bond. And that's all on the football club. So we came up with the idea, and we were a few weeks ago interviewing CEOs. We were looking at, we always come up with some great ideas. I put together with the guys a document of 6 great ideas, things we want to improve, things we want to do. And we were like, look, the new stadium could be a bit further afield than we want because of all the politics involved, and the permissions and people after us who are into the environment, all that stuff. So we were like, okay, what do we need to do with our ground? Because our ground's a bit of a, it's an old ground and we could do with some upgrades. So we need a new stand because we're running out of the exemption on the current stands. Even if we're in the champ, not in the champ, we need to do something with that stand. So that's going to probably cost us, a lot of money to get that stand done and turn into, I think we're allowed 1,800 seats or safe standing seats. So there's that. We need a restaurant. We need better facilities for our loyal fan base. There's improvements we need to make. Or now we've bought the ground. There's certain improvements we need to make, you know, and then people will go, why don't you put your own money in? Well, we're putting our own money in anyway to try and do well in the champ and recruit players. The champ hasn't made us break even. We still have to put in a couple of million on top of that. So, to do what we do. So what we thought was, well, what if we raise some money like what Norwich did? Lincoln have done it really well. A few other clubs have done bonds. What if we went professional and did a specific bond, with a target amount, with X amount return per year for the clients, and then their money back after X amount of years? What if we got the fans involved so they would feel part of it, and not only part of it and help with the facilities, they actually get a nice return on their dough.
Yeah.
So whether it's 5%, 6%, 7%, whatever it might be, if you've got 50 grand, 10 grand, £1,000, 500 quid, you want to earn a few quid on your money sat there doing nothing, because I think the bank rates are like less than 1%.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not really into investing in stocks and you don't want to take much of a risk, because stocks are really risky, at least with the bonds, you're getting your return and you're getting your money back, because the bond itself is on the club, and we're not going to shaft our supporters, and we can't pay a few million back to supporters on a bond. We may as well not be in business. So this isn't about, we desperately need the money. This is about, well, this is a project really juicy and exciting, and at the same time improve all the facilities. And that leaves us then to put money in to get more transfers in January and plan next summer. So that was the whole idea behind the bond. Randy and Jason, obviously, this is their kind of neck of the woods. So they've engaged also a company. There's a company that's done it. I think it was QPR and a couple of other clubs. They're going to put a whole presentation together. So we'll have something on that released quite soon. We have a target amount. I can't remember what the target amount is, whether it's 2 million, 3 million, or whatever it might be. But it'll be a target amount. I think if you don't reach the target amount, you give the money back to the clients. I think we will reach it because the returns are good for clients. Stevenage, I think, did one as well for one of their stands, I believe. So again, that's all it was. I think it's a really good idea. It's been put out there by Randy. Obviously, I retweeted it. A few fans have said really love the idea of this. It doesn't just need to be Peterborough fans. It could be anybody who's looking to earn some money. And right now, you're not getting a lot of money off the bank. So, you could be somebody sitting on a nice wedge of money, and this is, I won't say the words easy money, but it is easy money, because you're going to get a healthy return on your dough, and you get your dough back. So, yeah, so that's just one of the things we're doing. We're doing a few other things as well behind the scenes. We've got, obviously, the dome is now the ground, the whole pitch has been laid. Now that structure takes place. Listen, there's a lot of the really frustrating thing is, it's a real kick in the nuts, the first team results, because the 18s are doing great, the 23s are doing great. The dome is about to happen, Cat 2 status. Posh Plus is launched, where we got away from iFollow, and we now have our own system, you know what I mean? And that's only going to get better. It's frustrating, because 99% of everything else is going really, really well. And probably the most important 1% is the one that's kicking us in the nuts at the moment. So, that's the,
you'd figure out that
yeah,
over the next few months.
Exactly, but no, it's so really, really exciting. I'm going over next week. Looking forward to that, and spend a lot of time with Barry and the manager. We've already been talking, and again this morning, and we know the 3-4 players we want.
Mm-hmm.
We know we have to move on. We know there's going to be players transfer listed, so we have to do some clever business. Not sure January is going to be overly busy for everyone, but we have to do as best we can, and navigate, and that's important.
Now, as you're doing that, and let's just assume that part of that may involve the loan market. When you go into a loan market, like, is there a trick to getting players who will play like they're your player versus a player who will play like they're here for a few games and a bit of a shop window?
Really, really, really difficult. Really difficult. We, our recent experiences have been okay. We had Sammy came a couple of years ago. He was brilliant. That was down to the character. He was on loan from Bristol City. Brownie came from Huddersfield. Brilliant on loan. Josh Knight came on loan. Did really well. Ben White, But then again, I could name 4 or 5 that came on loan and were fucking awful. So it's always really, really difficult. I'm not a massive fan of the loan market, but because of where we are and what we're doing, we're lacking in massive transfer funds, but if we do put out, we will bring in. So, if we suddenly do bring in some good money from sales, we might go away from the loans and go get perms. Now, some of the players we want in perms aren't going to be available for the summer. So that's why you kind of go, well, I kind of want to wait 6 months for that player. So we'll have to go and get a loan. And there are, and going down that, route from the Prem, some of those players, sometimes it's hit and miss, but some clubs have done it really well. So I guess, the football gods are either going to be with us or against us in January based on some of the signings. And I'll take it in the neck as usual if it doesn't work. So, look, the manager's good on that front. I'm not an expert on the 23s and the 21s and the Prem players and the youngsters. My scouts don't get as much access to those games. So it's usually Baz and the manager who give me those names and give us those names to go with, and I back their judgment, and we go from there. So the ones we bring in permanently, that's easier. We're all involved in that, and we know those players. But the Prem loans, I can't put my hat in it and go, oh, guaranteed to be brilliant. Whether they're from Chelsea, Liverpool, Man United, Man City, there's no guarantee. It's geography. It's a youngster gone out on loan. It's the level. It's tough. Sometimes they take it like a duck to water. Sometimes it just doesn't go well. So I guess watch this space.
How much due diligence are you able to do on them?
It's tough. The manager can go to a couple of under 23 games. You can get in behind closed doors. You can see some clubs give you a player for a week or two. A lot of them don't when you're bringing them to the champ and the Prem. We make phone calls. I did it in the summer when the West Ham boy's name was given to me. I spoke to Jack Collison, spoke to a few people around the scenes and the Irish scene. You try and do your due diligence as best you can. We had a couple of preseason friendlies. We were able to go see him in the summer. This time it's going to be, there are a couple right now, and we've seen a couple of games under 20. The real problem is, Phil, the under 23 games that you watch sometimes, particularly in the Premier League, the lack of physical, it isn't the Championship. So I could be watching two wing backs and they look like Roberto Carlos, and they look like the best wing backs, full backs you've ever seen in your fucking life. But they're playing against teams, there's no crowds, there's no atmosphere. They're playing against teams that probably don't barely raise a tackle. It's really, really difficult to judge. Put that in a championship environment with 28,000 people at the Forest City ground, with really good fullbacks on the other side stopping them. It's difficult. It's really difficult.
So I guess we'll watch watch the space over the next few weeks.
It's all we can do. It's all we can do.
The one thing actually in the news this week around loans, which was interesting, was Man United now reportedly looking at sending youngsters out on week-long work experiences versus long-term loans. What do you make of that practice?
I think any time a Premier League club's trying to improve the process, and I think any time, as long as they're not asking, Football League clubs to pay the bill, stick someone in a hotel for a week just to train with them. I think anything, if Man United came to us and said, we have two fabulous wing backs or fullbacks and we want them to come to you on loan. And I keep saying fullbacks, let's say two central midfielders, and we want them to come to you on loan. Take them for 2 weeks to look at. I think my manager would welcome that with open arms. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of clubs who feel it's like snobby. They're like, why would I send a player to Peterborough to train for a week? I'm the biggest club in the world. Well, actually, large percentage of youngsters don't make the grade in the Prem, so sometimes you have to do that. So I applaud Man United for taking that strategy, a different one. And I would applaud them even more if they then say to the clubs, listen, we don't want any money, just play them. Mm-hmm. That'll be the next thing, because my experience at United, even going back to the days under Fergie when he was my manager's dad, United were asking us 50 grand loan fees.
Right.
And pay their players' wages. So
family rate.
Everyone used to think there was, and there was a reason I didn't really get a lot of Man United players, because there wasn't. So, and that's not a slight on Sir Alex. He had bosses to answer to.
Yeah.
So why would United do differently for Peterborough just because his son was here? They couldn't. So it was always 50 grand in full wages. And it was like, it was nearly impossible, to be able to afford that, So if they've changed that now, and it's been a while since we've had a United player with us, so they're in a position where they let you take a look at players and they're going to pay their wages because they're going to play 20 championship games in the second half of the season, which is invaluable to the improvement in their players. Hey, we're all for that, of course. Absolutely. I've always said that. Always been behind it.
What about on the flip side? So one of the things that's interesting to me, it seemed unusual. So this is back in the day when Ollie McBurney was still, in the youth team at Bradford. He went on a week's work experience to Man United to play in, I think, what was the Milk Cup final. I'm not sure what it's called right now, but it was the Youth Cup final. Got a hat-trick, came back. It was always really strange that they'd be taking a work experience kid and putting him in a cup final. Is that something that still goes on kind of behind the scenes?
Barry did that with loads of players. We had Edrington and Davies who went to Tottenham, I think, maybe, but they were playing in the team at the time as well. We'd sent Luke Steele. When you're a club who needs to raise money and you're out and out, down on your luck and you would send your best young players to all the top Prem clubs. We had it before where we had a young goalkeeper and he went to City, he went to Chelsea, he went everywhere, Aston Villa. And all those clubs really were at the table who wanted to buy him. And we knew he wasn't going to stay with us. So we had no problem with him going there and playing games and trying because we
Right.
knew how good he was. So, that hasn't gone away. That's still part of the system, and still goes on. Sometimes we'll have a players in the first team and they might ask, go, no, he's in our first team. He's not going
Right.
and training with you for a week. You can come and watch him every Tuesday and Saturday. If you want him, then you can write your fucking big check.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's a 15-year-old who's playing for our 15s
Yeah.
and him and his family want it to happen, sometimes you can't stop that.
Kind of
You just
creating a
have to make
market
sure you
for
get
him.
you got to get the best you can then,
Yeah.
So absolutely, but that's football.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the results over the weekend.
Sure, absolutely.
Your Liverpool boys got a late winner to
Oh,
what are
oh,
they?
Divock Origi.
Yes.
I did jump off the couch. I mean, obviously, I was pretty deflated with Posh, but I taped the Liverpool game, so I watched that straight afterwards, and I was getting so frustrated with the chances we were missing. I mean, I think Jota was doing his old club a favour. He missed like two of the best chances you're ever going to. It was almost like a Peterborough player in front of goal at the moment. And then obviously Divock comes off the bench, cult status, does the business. Big win, because as I said to you, I still think it'll be City and Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
But Chelsea obviously shot the bed on Saturday.
Yeah.
West Ham, again, who beat us, beat Chelsea. And then Man City, they look like they're not going to lose another game. Liverpool have got no margin for error at the moment.
What's your current thinking on Leeds? Patrick Bamford came in another last minute
I
equaliser.
was gutted because even though I like Leeds, I have my £1,000,000 on Brentford staying up.
Mm-hmm.
Ivan didn't play because of the vid, and obviously then Bamford scored late. That's 4 points in 2 games for Leeds. They've had a lot of injuries, a lot of issues, a lot of stress, and I think you'll see a much better Leeds team in January. And I think I've always said this, as the second half of the season comes and the Leeds of the world start playing teams that are in 11, 12, 13, not going down, not getting into Europe, Leeds will batter them. So I think Leeds right now, if you were to take a bet on any team in the bottom 6, finishing top 10, put your money on Leeds.
And finally, Stevie G doing some magic. I think he's 3-4 now, isn't he? He got 2-1 against Leicester at the weekend.
Up next at Anfield, we need a day off. We need the Stevie G train to stop again like it did against Man City. No doubt about it, terrific manager. He's at a club with deep pockets. It'll be interesting to see what he assesses that he needs. I would imagine if Stevie's clever, it'll be maybe 1 or 2 in Jan. And then if he really wants to bring in his own players, it'll be the summer when you do most of it. Because right now, if it ain't broke, don't fix. Why fix it?
Mm-hmm.
And I think if they keep the run up, as long as Liverpool beat them, but they keep winning, they'll be comfortably in the top 8 come February. And I think that's a club on the up, and they've got a good manager. Leicester, you worry about?
Yeah.
I'm surprised. There's so many good players. I don't know what's going on there. I know he lost his best defender at the start of the season with a broken leg, Fafania or whatever. I'd say Brendan's going to have to do a bit of shopping in January. He's definitely got to get them re-going again. But Leicester's one of them. Their squad's far too good to be where they are. I think the one surprise for everyone should be, and the one thing you need to worry about is Antonio Conte when he gets in streaks.
Mm-hmm.
Because Spurs right now are 1 game in hand outside the top 4.
Yeah.
And Conte is that manager with Chelsea. I think he didn't do well at the start, and then he won 15 in a row, and they won the title. Do not be shocked if he pulls that kind of shit off at Spurs. He has that Midas touch for like long runs and streaks.
What kind of reception is Steven Gerrard going to get at Anfield? Like, is it going to be strange?
A phenomenal one.
Is it dugout?
No, he'll get a phenomenal one. He'll get a great reception. Listen, that guy's God at Anfield. So I think he'll get. Listen, as long as there's no shenanigans. I mean, it'd be funny if him and Klopp have a big fallout as something goes on in games. So, but it'd be interesting because it's Stevie's first return in management. So listen, I think if we win the game 3-2 and it's exciting and his team play really well, he'll get a serious round of applause. If Villa win because of a contested decision or whatever else, then it mightn't go so well for him at the end, because like I said, our margin for error now is in this title race with Man City. We can't be losing games.
And then we go over to the Championship, and I mean Fulham and Bournemouth pretty much walking away with it right now. Are they catchable? I know we're not even halfway through the season yet, but it seems pretty imminent.
I think they're catchable. I think you want an outside one. I think outside wise, give me the top 7 at the moment.
All right,
the team for me are looking. Yeah, carry on.
We got Fulham, Bournemouth, West Brom, Blackburn, QPR, Stoke, Coventry. Top 7.
Blackburn could be the danger one. They've got goal scorers. They're streaky. They got a very experienced manager. Blackburn and Stoke would be the two ones that could, out of all of those. Stoke have got an owner who's still very ambitious. If he
Hmm.
decides to, and he's allowed to, because of financial fair play, get them some firepower. And yeah, I think Stoke could be the one, because he's definitely got now that defensive solidity at the back. Blackburn and Stoke would be the surprise. But them two at the top look like right now it's their own party.
What do you make of Paul Heckingbottom coming into Sheffield United?
Strange.
Yeah.
Really, really strange. I don't know what's going on there. Big manager, another big promotion winning manager got the chop. I think they just won a game as well, hadn't they, when he got fired or whatever else? It's yeah. I don't know. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I don't know who runs the club. Strange, but who am I to judge? Look, he's obviously done really well with the 23s. He's obviously a terrific coach.
Yeah.
He had a brilliant time with Barnsley when he took over from Lee Johnson, and he won the double. Late on, it was Lee Johnson's squad that had lost 9 and 10. And then obviously he went to Leeds. He gone elsewhere. It hasn't come off for him. There's no doubt about it. He's a very talented coach. Not sure if he's a top manager, but he's got a hell of a squad there. Somebody's got to get it right at Sheffield United. And don't listen. That's the kind of team, by the way, that you might laugh at this, but don't be shocked if they went on a run and won a lot of games. Any a team like that could win 8, 9, 10 in a row.
Well, they're closer than we've looked at them most of the season, and it's been bottom half. I mean, they're up to 10th because they've had a couple of
Mm-hmm.
wins, so
Mm-hmm.
they're not that far away from the playoffs.
No, absolutely. Don't discount them. So them and Middlesbrough could be come from deep, and could go late. So I'm again, as you can imagine, I don't spend too much time studying the championship table.
Well, it's an interesting one for me. Paul Heckingbottom is ex-Bradford, as is Stuart. Stuart McCall's gone back in there
Yeah,
as assistant.
yeah. Seeing Stewart's number 2. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, having left Blackpool to go there. It just seems a strange one. That's all. I mean, they've gone back to local players who know that. Sorry, managers or management team that knows the club. Maybe they're trying the Chris Wilder formula again.
Maybe. Who knows? Because they've got a Premier League squad. They've spent a lot of money. They've brought a lot of money back in. They probably had too many years of spending money. Obviously the previous manager they just got rid of, it obviously wasn't working up top. Who knows? So it'd be interesting to see. But it's like everything else with the Premiership money. If you don't come back within the first 2 seasons, it becomes more and more difficult. So, is that them settling for not going back up? Some people would say, is it going cheaper? But give Heckingbottom credit if they do get up there and they have a run and he gets them up, well, fair play.
Yeah. Now in League One and League Two, there's not that many games that have gone on, but I was surprised to see Paul Cook getting the chop yesterday, or maybe it was Saturday night. Then he got the chop. I didn't think that would happen so quickly at Ipswich, but
No, I'm not shocked. That you're getting up to Christmas now. They're 11th. They struggled in a cup on Saturday. It was obviously behind the scenes. Ashton wants them to win the league. He wants them to win promotion. They've spent heavily. They've invested heavily. Yourself, how you're playing. Are you looking like winning? Is it too inconsistent? What's going on at the training ground? What are the vibes? I guess only he would know. But obviously Ashton's, he's under pressure. A big group of both that club. They're expecting to get out this year. How far are they away from the top 2 positions? All those things start coming in. January is coming up. Do you trust him again to go out and spend more money and bring more players in? So, what a job that is for somebody. Who would you put in there?
I have absolutely no idea. I mean, I thought that Paul Cook would do a good job, but it feels like they spent all this money in the summer, and now it's going to be bringing somebody else in to spend another bunch of money to just replace what they already spent. Or are they going to bring somebody in who the expectation is to work with what they've got?
Yeah, I mean, I think because they brought so many players in the summer, I don't think it'd be a case of them going out and signing another 10 players. So, what do you do? Who do you go after? Who's out of work out there? Who do you think will actually, who's been fired in the championship? That you think maybe can drop down and do a job and do well. So I don't know. It's a big club, and they got deep pockets. Any of those clubs, the Sunderland, the Sheffield Wednesday, and Ipswich, if any of them lose their manager, you're going to have some top managers applying for those jobs. It'd be interesting. Could you go and attract John Terry to that job? Could you attract I don't know, could you go and get Wayne Rooney from Derby, who's done really well at Derby, and bring him to Ipswich? Could you be that ambitious? I mean, I can't speak for them. I don't know what he's thinking, but
Is that going to is it going to be attractive enough though for a manager who ordinarily wouldn't look outside the Championship to say, you know what, there's enough of an
Well,
opportunity there that I'm going to drop down to League One?
there's not enough jobs. I've always said this: there's 72 jobs in the football league. I mean, if you're somebody who's out of work for a period of time, how long do you want to wait to get back into work? A club like Ipswich, it's a dream job. It's an absolute unbelievable job. So I don't know. I mean, if my manager, say, for example, if he was out of work and we were speaking still, and I had a manager who was doing really well, I'd say to my manager, "You've got to be in for that Ipswich job." I mean, yeah, that's a hell of a job. It's one of the biggest clubs, in England, as regards to outside the Premier League. You look at their fan base, you look at the size of them, you look at the new wealthy owners. I mean, it's a dream project for somebody. And you look at the squad and think, Jesus, any good manager could go in there and get them going. And as we know in League One, 5 or 6 wins on the spin, and suddenly you're flying. So that's a hell of a job.
So without knowing the ins and the outs of what happened with Paul Cook, like why doesn't it work? What are some of the reasons why it just doesn't click?
Well, I was one of the people who said when they hired him that that's a guaranteed promotion. So I can't answer that question. It's just sometimes it doesn't work for a certain manager at a club. He's gone in there, he's cleared out a lot of dead wood. There are a lot of issues at the start. He was very heavy early on about, even when they had a chance of still getting in the playoffs, he was kind of writing them off. Maybe he hasn't endeared himself to maybe the fans. He hasn't endeared himself to the new ownership with maybe some of his stuff going on. you know, but you would look at your team and go, does this look like a team that can put a win of 5 or 6 wins together? Does this look like a manager I can trust with another 3 or 4 signings in January? Or is this basically a case of actually the players just they're not responding to him? So I've got to make a change here. If we want to go up and have a chance of going up, I've got to do it now. So, again, I don't know the answer to that. Some managers are made for clubs, mine for mine, Ainsworth for Wickham. Some managers are just like tailor made for certain football clubs. And you look at it and go, Jesus, why hasn't that worked for Paul Cook? The guy's won promotion from League One, I think, twice. He's won the League Two title. He's been at some big clubs. He won't be out of work for long, that's for sure. But I am surprised.
What does it do to his stock, though? Is it still he's going to be in for the next League
Um,
One job that's a good job, or is he
I think
thinking
so. I think
finally?
so. I think so. He did a great job at Wigan. He did well with Pompey. He's had a shitty run at Ipswich. I mean, they're not bottom of the league. He just,
Right.
it hasn't come off. Um, he's a multiple promotion winner. I think he's still got at least 1 or 2 more good jobs in him. So it'd be interesting.
Mm-hmm. Now, Charlie Wyke, I want to talk about. He obviously, had a cardiac
Jeez.
arrest in training,
Yeah.
but was obviously very fortunate that folks around
His
him were
manager,
screaming out, yeah,
I
Liam
think
Richardson,
his manager, like,
yeah,
unbelievable. I mean, my God, poor guy. I mean, I don't want to see any player, go through that. And I know there was all the usual conspiracy shite about the
right.
vaccine and da da
Like he
da
had to
da.
come out and
In fairness,
specifically say it, didn't
he, yeah, he came out and obviously it was a bit like the Ericsson thing, and he came out and he said, "Well, look, we all know the vaccine works, but we also all know that there has been side effects." But the whole thing about footballers, I'm not buying that. Someone said to me the other day, actually, because it's happened to quite a few
he?
footballers,
Right.
they were saying, "Is there something to do with the caffeine things they take?"
Mm-hmm.
A lot of footballers now, and I'm not trying to start a conspiracy here, a lot of footballers take like these caffeine tablets and
Right.
caffeine things to give them a hit, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And
Like
whatever
an
in
energy
game,
boost.
in training, an energy boost, and whatever else. And, you have to look at this wasn't happening 10 years ago.
Right.
So, what's changed in the sports science of football? What's changed in training? Charlie White's been a fit guy all his career.
Mm-hmm.
And is he going to come back and play again? I mean, I hope this isn't the end of his
Right.
career. I mean, they said he was dead for a while, didn't they, or whatever else? He was actually like,
I didn't see that.
uh, yeah. I mean, I hope I haven't got that wrong, but I
Yeah.
mean, well, listen, we wish him nothing but the best. I mean, that's fucking horrendous. What's happened? But thank God his manager knew what to do. Thank God the staff were like on site, like straight away, and able
Mhm.
to. I mean, top class to them for the job they did. Wow.
Now, are there things that you can do on the training field to, like train players in recovery process, train staff?
I, I don't know, Phil. I don't know because touch wood, I've never seen it happen. I mean, have we had players with heart murmurs and things you look at in scans and medicals? Of course, you make decisions on that. Not everyone's perfectly healthy. The human body's strange. Did anyone think Christian Eriksen was going to die on the pitch at the Euros? We've had a few players this season. Now, there was a player I've just seen on Twitter as I was coming live on this podcast, Marvelous Marvin Morgan, ex-striker from non-league, who's died at 38 over the weekend. God bless one. What on earth? I've no idea what that was from, by the way. But Nobody should be losing their life in their 30s, and no sports person or athlete should be, certain. We were all. I remember back in the height of COVID when it started, and we shut down our game, and I was the one out there saying no one's going to die of COVID, from playing sports, because I'd spoke to so many doctors about being out in the open air, how respiratory viruses work, and the best thing for athletes is to be pumping their lungs out there, playing football. To suddenly be here 18 months later, and we're nearly losing people, not to COVID, but to actually heart issues and whatever else. It's not nice. So all I can say there is, thankful we've come to a stage where a manager knows how to produce CPR, knows how to help. Yeah, I don't know if they'd use a defibrillator if that was at the ground or whatever. But Christ Almighty, I would hate to take a phone call about one of our players is basically like gone down like that at the training ground. That's terrible. So praying for Charlie, hope he's good, and thoughts with Marvin Morgan's family. You know what I mean? He obviously lost his life at 38 this weekend, which is just fucking horrendous.
Well, the last thing that I do want to talk about, which is, well, it's not related obviously to Charlie, but it's about health, and it's around
Sure,
vaccinations. We talked about vaccinations.
sure.
Premier League clubs reportedly want to add fully vaccinated contract clauses into contracts. I mean, I imagine that's not something that you stand for. I mean, is that unethical? Is it
No,
illegal? I mean,
yeah. I'll tell you what
is
they
it going
need
to
in the Premier
fly?
League. They need Ron DeSantis in there. That's what they need, because he'll beat down that mandate like he did with Biden's mandate. So I'm seeing pictures today of health workers go back to work in Florida who lost their jobs like 4 weeks ago because of Sleepy Joe's vaccine mandate. And obviously Ron went to court and won the right so that they don't actually have to have it. So these people now who fought for us and worked for us during the pandemic are now back at work. Just so everyone knows where I am. I'm vaccinated. You're vaccinated. I want people, certainly at a certain age group, to be vaccinated. The only reason I thought for players to be vaccinated was to stop them missing game time. I was never worried about their health. And everyone who's vaccinated should stop stressing about mandates, because if your vaccine works, why are you worried about people without COVID or without the vaccine? So the way I look at it is this: I hate things like that. I've always said this: if Boris Johnson wakes up tomorrow and puts a mandate in that for people who come to our games, they need to be vaccinated and all, and we start going into that two-tier society, I don't want to be involved in football. I didn't go to Swansea because they insisted on a vaccine mandate or a passport. I'm not going to Germany, Austria, Australia. These are places I will never visit again in my lifetime because of what they've done. They've made it a two-tier society. They've treated people like lepers who aren't vaccinated. I'm seeing people I follow on social media who I'm unfollowing because they seriously want to treat unvaccinated people like the scum of the earth. They don't want them getting treated at hospital. They don't want them having the same privileges me and you do for a vaccine that there's 0.2% chance of those age groups dying. It's outrageous what's happened in our lifetime. And if the Premier League are bringing that into contracts, more shame on them. And I hope a lot of players get like a top tier lawyer, and I know one if they want their name and number, to go and beat that down in court.
It feels
Because
like it's
as I
not going to
said to
fly.
you, our governor here is beating down the president of America in court. So if he can do that, I'm sure the Premier League players can do that and knock that nonsense out. I know the NFL have tried it all. I know a few of their players have faked some vaccine passports, haven't they, to get in and play, and they've been found out.
Yeah,
So you know what? We all have COVID. What's the right word for it? Tiredness, where we're all
yeah,
fatigued,
fatigue.
COVID fatigue.
Right.
I think we're all, the news and the media aren't, because of the 300 million they're all earning every year from the government advertising it. So they're just going to keep putting out every bit of panic and Christmas is cancelled. We're all done with it. Like, I'm traveling next week. I've now just been told I've now 48 hours to do a PCR, no longer 72 hours to
Mm-hmm.
go into England. And then obviously Gobshite Biden has put in a 24-hour one for when we travel back to America, which is near on impossible. So it's just we're COVID fatigued. There are things I have to do now. It's tougher to do now than 20 months ago when this pandemic was
Yeah.
rife, where I could travel and it was easier to travel. It was easier. Now it's even more difficult, and I'm vaccinated. So it's just we're all fatigued by it. I'm sure even you, and I'm sure in your house you got Fauci stickers up. I'm sure even you guys sometimes turn it off when he's on TV now. Everyone's just fed up fucking listening to everything.
Well, we just don't listen to it, and so my folks are coming here to the States from England in a week or so.
Brilliant.
And, and it takes hours to figure out exactly what they're supposed to do and how long they've got and
Because
which
it
departments
changes.
and where to go.
It
Right.
changes.
And when you
It
figure it out, the
changes.
next day it's like, well, now it's 24 hours, not 72 hours.
Yeah, well, it's from. I think I want to say it's from. Is it the end of December? It's 24 hours
It's
to get in,
actually,
or you tell me.
yeah, I think that for them to get in next week, they've got to do 24 hours. And in rural North Yorkshire, there's not a ton of places where you can go to get a 24-hour PCR test, or, rapid PCR
Eh,
test.
I've had Liz, my football secretary, running around trying to book appointments for Natalie and the kids when they come home. And we found somewhere on New Year's Day to do it, and then you're still relying on them getting you the results that night for them to fly the next day. And all you're doing is you're encouraging people to falsify documents. You're encouraging people to take risks. It's just it's ridiculous. The 72-hour thing was working. What's the problem here? It's a bit like shutting out 6 African countries that have got nothing to do with the one African country that did have that Omicron virus. There's no, and when the question's asked, there's no logic. They don't have an answer. It's just like some fucking moron with a pencil has decided that's how we do it. And none of it makes sense. And it's cost me, I was 600 quid for them to do this 24-hour PCR test. Everyone's making a fortune out. Natalie actually said the other day, it's they're all making a fortune, these people. And it's a racket, and it's going to keep going until we stop it. And I keep looking at my friends in Ireland. I saw the other day they shut down all nightclubs till the 7th of January. Do you know how much? Do you know how much of your turnover in the entertainment industry comes from December? So that country I was born in, which I'm horrified at what they've done to their residents, has now basically again killed their nighttime and hospitality industry, and they don't give a shit. And there's two ways of doing it. You either vote these morons out, and in England, you've got a problem because if you vote Johnson out, you've got that fucking Labour leader who's probably worse on lockdowns. So there is no alternative. Here, we've got to wait another 3 years to get rid of the relic. But we're lucky we have a governor that keeps everything open for us. But you look at Ireland, you got two choices. You vote someone out, or you topple governments. And nobody wants to encourage toppling the government. But when you see I saw a video yesterday from Australia, and they showed one of these camps where they put people in, and the guy was on his terrace, and there's all like wiring mesh around between these little houses, and these doctors come over, and this guy's like 27, and they're telling him the rules. You can't go past that line, and your food will be delivered at this time during the day. And you see the video around the camp, Phil. There's barbed wire. This shit's scary. And what's scary is it's allowed to happen. And it's happening in democratic places where democracy is rife, but it's not democracy. So sorry to get political and everyone listening. I think we're at the stage where we have to do what's right for us, and we have to look after each other ourselves, and we have to make those choices individually. And we have to stop telling people what to put in their body, what not to put in their body. You do you, I'll do me. And you know what? If the vaccine works like they keep telling us it will, and we know you still get COVID, but it stops hospitalization, great. I'll get the vaccine, you get the vaccine. And if John B next to me doesn't want to get it, that's his fucking problem. But the idea that I'm going to treat him any different than I treat him on a Monday, on a Wednesday because of a COVID virus, I'm not. So, and if you're one of those people who does want to have a two-tier society, I pity you, and may you burn in fucking hell.
On that
There you go.
I do want to take a couple of questions.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Q&A, baby. Q&A.
Yeah, so James on Twitter, James is a Huddersfield fan. He says, our chairman's businesses have all gone into administration. Our ex-chairman has a 25% share, and he's now paying all the bills. Yep. And I have to say, that was always a really strange takeover at Huddersfield a couple of years ago.
I saw Dino at our game, Dean Hoyle. I really, really like Dean Hoyle. I still think I don't want to get in trouble here. I think he still runs the whole club now. Right. So, yeah, I didn't understand. I have an idea of what happened before. I'm not going to try and put suspicions on things or whatever. He's given this guy a fair shake to come and take it over and do whatever else. If Dean's behind the scenes still, that's good news for Huddersfield fans because he's a phenomenal owner. So, and his family love that football club. So I don't think anything's, if the question the fan is asking, is the club in trouble? My answer would be no.
Yeah. And I guess also does it decrease the value of the club, given that buyers know the financial situation of the owner?
No. I think Huddersfield's in good shape. I don't think they've overspent. I think they used their parachute money well. They're a well-supported club. Dean's still part of the furniture, and he still obviously has shares in the club. Yeah. He's a very wealthy man. I don't think there's any trouble at Huddersfield. I don't think a Huddersfield fan needs to wake up and think that Derby County's coming.
Right.
No way. Dean Hall's never ever run it like that. So, um, does it devalue a club if people think the owner's in the shit financially? Of course, people are going to take the mick, but there's no devaluation of you of a price. If I want 50 million for Huddersfield or 100 million for Huddersfield, and I'm wealthy enough to keep saying no to people who try and take the piss,
Yeah.
there you go. That's the way it goes. So I wouldn't be losing sleep if I was a Huddersfield fan.
Now, what's a Huddersfield worth on the open market? Take away, what
Uh,
someone's willing to sell at. But
It's really difficult because I don't know the stadium situation. I don't know the debt situation. I don't know all the things involved. It's a club with mass potential. They've been in the Premier League. I couldn't put a figure on it. They're worth a lot more than what Dean paid for it when he took them in
yeah.
League One. That's for sure. Many, many millions more. But and they've not done too badly this season. So I think fans, sometimes we worry about things we don't need to worry about.
Mhm. Yeah, they're not doing as much as it pains me as a Bradford fan. They're doing pretty well this year. They're doing better than they've done the last couple of years, and they've got an ex-loanee that we had, Lewis O'Brien, who was the only bright
Yeah.
spark in a terrible team that we had, who's doing really well there. So I'm actually really pleased for him that he's doing well because he was a
Yeah,
great player for us on loan.
good player.
Yeah. We have a question from Steve on email. It seems to me that years ago, players had to have 2 or 3 good years in the Championship before getting a move to the Premier League. Now it's more like a
Yep.
good 6 months. Why is that?
I think it's a couple of things. It's age. If a 20-year-old has a good 6 months, he goes for a lot of money. If a 29-year-old has a good 6 months, he's not going for a lot of money to the Premier League. He would need to have 2 or 3 good years. I think it might be an age thing that's changed, and I think also the Premier League look at young English players that are doing well in the Champ and think, well, if you're in that bracket on the 24, you've got massive improvement in you still, and if you're doing well in the Champ for 6 months, you can definitely step up and do well in the Prem. So that's what happens. Do you know what I mean? So there's no secret. Premier League clubs want good young players, and of course they'll buy them from League One if they're doing. But the Champ is such a great league. If you Ronnie Edwards is doing brilliant in the Championship for a struggling Peterborough side. Man City, Chelsea. A big club is going to go, well, fuck, if he's doing well for them and they're playing crap and they're down the bottom, not winning. Imagine how well he'll do in our whole system. Imagine what kind of player he'd be at 21 for a top six club in the Prem. So for them spending millions on a player like that is an investment easily made. So that's just that's the market. But we'll see what happens in January in the summer in the transfer market and see if this football recession is over that I've spoken about for the last like 8-9 months.
Now, when a player like Ronnie Edwards, for example, is recruited by a Premier League team from Championship, is he
Sure.
recruited to go, into the squad, or is he recruited to go into the under
No.
23s and then to continue to nurture?
No, he's recruited like a Chelsea or Man City would buy a player like that and then put him back out on loan for 18 months, whether it be to Peterborough, whether it be to a bigger club in the Champ. That's what they'll do. They will want him to play, and playing in the under 23s in the Premier League Cup and the Premier is not going to help a player like him. So he wouldn't look at a place in the top team anyway, even at 18. But if they wanted, they say, look, we want to get him 50 games. So I would say to any of those clubs, if they were buying him from me, leave him with us. Leave him with us for 18 months. He's going to play every week. He's going to play 50, 60 games. You get him back, just before his 20th birthday, and he's ready to go. So that's the real value for a Prem club is can we own that player before every other club in the world wants him? Can we get an extra 50 games into him? And by the way, he'll still train with them in the summer. He'll probably still go back and train once a week with the main manager of that club. So you're getting all the good bits there. We've got a couple of youngsters that we wouldn't mind doing that with ourselves, getting out on loan, lower down. And obviously still we keep an eye on them. They still play for us in midweek when they're not playing for that club, but they're going out and getting games, and that's just sometimes what they need. So absolutely, that's it's the way of the future. It's going to be a lot more of that happening there.
The last question I have is from Jamie on email. Jamie says, I'm just
Sure,
wondering what Darragh thinks about the pending takeover of Hull City.
sure.
Possible final ending to the Alam saga. However, the person, the buyer, who is from Turkey, seems to want to bring Turkey to England. Is this a disaster
Mm.
waiting to happen with such and I guess he says a slim line, but it's such a focused view, I guess, on recruitment and only looking to one region?
Yeah, tough that is. It doesn't have good things written on it when you see it like that. It's, well, I want to bring all Turkey players. It's like me buying and going, I want to bring all Irish players over, whatever else. So let's hope the owner, obviously it's time for the Allens to go, and the fans want that to happen. So you want to hope for a couple of things. You want to hope that they replicate the Allens in a way that they pay their wages on time, they pay their bills on time. So that's the one thing the Allens have always done. They've run it really well financially. You want to make sure that they've got good people around them, and they've got people with knowledge of the game. I hope they, keep Grant, because obviously he's done really well for them. So, I hate for them to change that, because I'm fond of him. So I don't know the answer to the question. I understand the fears. I understand that you think, shit, we're going to have like 10 out of the 20-man squad is going to be Turkish under 19s, under 20s. And, you'd read recently in the last few years about the ex-Forest owner bringing foreign players in, that didn't do well, and they were arriving at the training ground, and the manager was kind of looking at them going, fuck me, they're not good enough for this level. And you've heard about things like that happen before. The champ's not really that level. You can trial test players from a certain country. You might get away. I mean, even in League Two, you got the guy in Oldham who was playing like that kind of game, bringing lots of French and Algerian players in, and it was fucking ludicrous. And at that level, it wasn't working. So you think it's going to work at the champ level?
We had it with Edin Rahik when he was bringing in Germans as well that came in and they looked like
right. You had a few Hermans.
Yeah.
So you had a few Hermans come through the door. I mean, from the 5th division, probably in Germany. And if they weren't doing it, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I understand the apprehension. I understand it's a bit of a, what's the right word of saying? On one hand, you're really happy you're getting new owners. And then on the other hand, the apprehension is, oh, shit, right, are we going, from the melting pot to the fire? What's going on here? You know what I mean? So, but I think, Hull will be fine. It's a well-run football club. And, well, I don't know what's taking so long, because that was nearly 6 weeks ago.
It feels like it was a long time ago it was announced.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess it must be a lot of due diligence going on. But from what I know about the Allens, they're everything available for due diligence is in great shape. So that should be a quick takeover. Maybe it shouldn't take that long.
Maybe the price went up a little bit now that they've got a couple of...
No. I think when you do a deal and it's in writing and then you get a period of due diligence, the price is locked in. You agree a deal, you agree an MOU, you agree, you start getting the share purchase agreement drawn up. And you have a period of time where it's all frozen, the price, you pay a deposit, then you do your due diligence. The due diligence is all subject to, your deal subject to the due diligence coming through. So I don't know. That's an interesting one, I presume the whole press are on that, and they'll know more than we will.
All right, well, let's call it time for another podcast. Thank you as ever, Darragh.
Cool. Absolutely, Philip.
We are here for questions, as always. Contact
Absolutely.
at truthfootball.com. Until next week, we will talk to you all again soon, and fingers crossed for 3 points this week.
We could all do with it, yeah?
Yeah.
Take care, everyone.
Take care, everyone.